Not at all whatsoever. I ain't got time for that. Welcome to Daycare Chronicles 101, and I am your host, Miss Tanya. This episode of Daycare Chronicles 101 podcast is going to be about the different personalities, barriers, and conflicts within childcare. I have a special guest that's going to be joining me shortly, and I can't wait for you all to meet her. I can't wait for her to share her knowledge, her wisdom, her expertise in this matter. Until then, I want us to speak about how coronavirus has really affected our lives, our facilities. And I know that for myself, having to create new rules, new regulations, new policies has been a daunting task, but it had to be done. And so we all have these new rules, these new regulations, and yet and still, our clients will still come to the door without their mask on. And I had this happen the other day, and I sent out a mass text to everyone. I'm like, listen, you signed the agreement, you read it, you know the rules, you know the regulations, you know all of the policies, and yet you still come to the door without your mask on. And that's not okay. Mask up. You must wear your mask. I am so tired of having this conversation with my clients to where now if they come to the door, I look at them, and if they don't have on their mask, I politely say, can you please go back to the car and put your mask on? Some of them have come so far as to come and ring the doorbell and then go back down the steps, stand halfway in the walkway with their shirt over their nose. And it's like, okay, I'm here to pick up the children. Really? And so, I have a policy where you need to wait until the other client in front of you leaves. You need to give them at least 6 feet. If you possibly can, stay in your car until, the other client leaves with their children. And so everyone says, oh, Miss Tanya, we thank you so much for all that you're doing. We know that our children are safe here with you. And you still come to the door without a mask. You still don't social distance outside. So that's just one of the things that us as providers are having to deal with, on top of all the extra cleaning and sanitizing, that we have to do on a daily basis. I really feel like we give parents a false sense of security because they're like, oh, well, we know Miss Tanya's clean, or we know Miss Sally is clean, or we know Chanel is clean. But at the end of the day, COVID can enter any of our facilities at any time. We don't control that. What we control is what we can control is what we do in our facilities as far as the cleaning, the sanitizing, the disinfecting. We do all of those things. So as a provider, when you have a parent who doesn't follow the rules, it gets kind of irritating to have to keep repeating yourself because we're not children, we're adults. And I know that I'm not the only provider that is having this issue at all whatsoever. I know that I'm not the only provider that's having this issue with the parents because I've spoken to other providers and they have the same stories. So our guest is ready now. I have Miss LaShana Stephens, Modern Mommie Mogul. The name alone is just, okay, she's about her business. So I have Miss LaShana Stephens on right now. LaShana, I want to welcome you to the podcast. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I have just introduced you, Modern Mommie Mogul. I have shared with the audience that we're going to talk about, this is how I worded it, the personality barriers, differences, conflicts within daycare. As providers, we have clients, and some clients we gel with, some clients we don't. And right. So from having my assessment with you, and you'll explain all that to the audience or whatnot, I've learned my strengths, I've learned my personality. So I see why throughout my 30 years of doing daycare, there were some conflicts there. There were some disagreements. There were some barriers there. And not to say that all of that was a bad thing, but it's just, I tell people, you have 10 children, you have 10 different personalities with the children, and then you have 10 different personalities with the parent. So just introduce yourself, explain a little bit about yourself, and let's just delve right on into this because we need your help.
Okay. Well, okay. So my name is LaShana Stephens, and I'm a mom coach, relationship coach. And basically, what I've learned over the years, I was introduced to the DISC assessment about 8 years ago. And what the DISC assessment showed me was that I have some major strengths in my personality that also can turn into limitations if I'm not aware of them. Because what happens is our strengths offend people.
Yes.
They offend people that are not like us.
Yes.
And so there's 4 dominant personality styles. We have what I like to call the militant mommy.
Yes.
Militant mommy is decisive, strong-willed, argumentative at times, and they are very results oriented. And so if you're not producing results, which means if you're not getting the grades, if you're not disciplined, getting, some type of results in your actions, then there's going to be conflict. So that's one mom style. And then we have the mom style, which is the bestie mom. And so the bestie mom is more focused on having fun, interaction, being liked by her children, more so want to build that solid, fun relationship. They want to be like the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So that works, as long as it's a strength because the kids are, they're happy. They can talk to mom about whatever. But where it becomes a limitation is that there's not clear boundaries.
Yes.
And so with the mother-daughter or mother-son relationship, there's no clear boundaries. So a lot of times those moms end up getting disrespected or have, issues with their kids talking back and, being defiant and different things because there's no clear definition between the motherhood and the friend. And so the strength is the relationship is solid. It's a good relationship, but the limitation is that there's not clear boundaries and can be some enabling.
All right.
Then we have the soccer mom, which that's the mom that their strength is that they're like the glue that holds the family together. So they're all about, peace and harmony and stability and making sure that their children, they're like that one mama bear that don't play about their kids. Their kids are the same like the bestie mom. Their kids are like their best friends. They'll do anything for their kids. They're all in their tribe. They don't play that, they got the snacks on deck. They know what their kids need. Everything is really catered to the motherhood. The limitation to that is more of the enabling. They'll make excuses for their kids more so than holding them accountable because they care about the relationship so much that they give boundaries. They don't want to. So it's kind of like the bestie mom, but more introverted bestie mom. Okay. So they're about as much as about the, big bling parties and different things, but they are about like holiday events. Like coming together for Christmas for the soccer mom is really important. Coming together for holidays for the soccer mom is really important. And so with the children, though, if depending on their personality styles, if they have a child that's more, decisive and strong-willed, that child's going to run over that mom because we're concerned about keeping that relationship than they are the discipline. They want the stability. They want the peace and the harmony. So whatever keeps peace is the goal. And then we have the scholastic mommy. And so the scholastic mommy is about perfectionism. She wants her kids perfect. She wants to be perfect. She holds very high standards for her children. So the children, they're probably going to get great grades, but the limitation is the criticism. The lack of emotional connection is usually a really big issue with the scholastic mom because the scholastic mom is not as in touch with their emotions. They don't really have, not that they don't have them, but they can't really label them as much because they're more focused on just getting things right and making things look perfect. And so that can get you caught up with your kids because the kids can feel like if they're not performing at a certain level, they're not feel loved. It's just, and it's not anything that we do intentionally as moms. It's something that, we're not taught. We're not taught to really go deep inside of ourselves and see who we are. A lot of times the way that we were raised was, by one of these style of moms.
Yeah.
And it goes against really who we may be at our core. And we're just trying to get through childhood. We're just trying to get through teenage, get out the house.
Right. Yeah.
But we never really go inside to say, hey, what are my strengths? What's good about me? What makes me a great person? What makes me a great partner? What makes me a great wife? What makes me a great business person? So how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're a mommy, you're a militant coworker, you're a militant friend, militant wife, and so those expectations are put on our relationships, our family members, and we're expecting these people to show up the way that we do. And that's just not reality. And so that's where the conflict comes in, because we're expecting people to show up the way we show up.
Right.
It's not realistic. For the militant mommies, only 12% of the world is going to show up the way you show up. Just 12%. So that means another 88% of the world you're going to have to do it.
Yeah. This is so important for us as providers. When I was seeing your post, I'm like, I have to have her on because, we deal with, like I said, a child we have our own personalities. Then you have these children come in, they have their own personalities.
Right.
And you have the moms, the parents that come in, they have their own so you're dealing with 12 different personalities pretty much, throughout the day on top of your own personality.
And that's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And then I've had clients where the mom was just a pushover, like she was like the bestie mom,
right?
The soccer mom. I've had all of these styles of parents,
right?
And so I know that I'm a dominant person, and so things are different. Like I'm like, okay, I'm almost that scholastic mom, as well. I was that mom too. However, when you have clients that come in, and you have some that may be like that scholastic mom, they're like, well, you're not doing enough for my child. And as I'm like, well, you knew what the program was like. So you have that mom, or I had a mom, her child was on a pacifier. He was a baby. She's like, well, I want him off of it. Well, you need to wean him. So she was like, in a certain sense, because even though it was an infant, she was like that scholastic mom. She was like, no, I want him off of this now. This is what, and I'm just like, so the child ended up leaving daycare because I'm like, I can't torture the child that way. And then you have parents who just, their child just runs all over them. And as a provider, you're looking at the parent like, are you going to get this? Like, this is not okay. Like when this child gets older, it's going to be an issue, so there have been some clash there. Definitely. What I've learned from you is just to kind of take a deep breath and just accept that person for who they are and recognize who they are and see if you're able to meet, like have a happy medium there. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. But I feel like providers, we think, oh, we're just going to care for everyone's children. And some of the children, the personalities that you're saying for the moms, the children carry those personalities as well.
It's across the board. So that, just like you were saying, how that's like 12 different personalities. No, it's only 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no matter who we're only dealing with 4 different types of people. One that's like ourselves,
right?
So with 3 other types of personality, and one that's like ourselves. So it's always just the 4. So if you can just get your mind wrapped around, okay, I'm only dealing with 4 different types of people.
Okay,
I'm dealing with either an extrovert that's task oriented, that's someone that's people that's very active, busy, multitasker. That is very focused on getting things done, or you have the extrovert that's very people oriented, that just wants to network and play, doesn't like to do work, just wants to be there for the fun of it, just wants to hang out and turn up, be in the chat. So those are the extroverts. So those are 2 different people that you have to be mindful of. You have the kids that are very on task, they get their homework done, they're active, they want to be in charge.
Right.
And then you have the other extrovert that's very people oriented. They may not like to clean up after themselves. They may not, get their work done. You have to keep redirecting them. That's the little bestie child. You have the little soccer child, which is more mild mannered and they're more agreeable and they'll do whatever you ask them to do, but they're not going to ask questions. They're not going to create a fuss. It's like your easiest student. They're just laid back in the cut, doing whatever you tell them to do because they're in harmony. So those are the easiest children. Those are the easiest students. Those are the easiest people to get along with. The limitation, though, is you may not have a connection with them because you don't know what they need.
Right.
They get forgotten.
Yes. Yes.
And then you have your C child that's going to ask you 50 million questions. That's
Woo!
So
Yes.
they as children are like, what are we doing? What do you know? How are you an expert? Why should I be doing this? How long are we going to be doing this? Because they need clarity.
That's a 3 and a 4-year-old in daycare. You just described a 3 and a 4-year-old in daycare.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh my goodness. I see.
So just knowing that. Children. Yeah, just knowing that is, and of your personality, you have high standards.
Yeah.
You're that mix of the militant and the scholastic. So you're moving quick and you have high standards.
Yeah. Yes.
And so when you're able to slow down a bit and say, okay, because that's why your planning is on point, because you want that stuff to be right. You want your kids. And like that mommy that had a problem with the baby with the pacifier.
Yeah.
He probably has some insecurity around what moms are supposed to be doing with their kids around. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're not supposed to be doing that at this age, or that makes me look like a bad mom. So I need to stop doing that so that I can be perfect.
Yeah.
So those type of moms put the pressure on their kids to be perfect so that they can look perfect.
One thing that I do know that as providers, and really with myself, I nurture what I see in a child. Mm-hmm. I have a better understanding just from this conversation right here of them and their personalities, because who you see now is who they're going to be as they grow up. And I see that when you see something in a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, you're just like, wow. I mean, you've just broken this all down. I hope everyone loves what they are hearing and they, really reach out to you, because you are such an asset.
Thank you.
Because of the knowledge that you have. And, I always say that people that are not as strong or as my personality, they always gravitate towards the personality. Mm-hmm. And so it's okay until that strength is used against you, or until I have to say something, to you. And then it's like, oh, well, now you're upset about it. Mm-hmm. So having a dominant personality isn't always, a good thing.
It's usually not.
It's not always a good thing.
Because you have to remember, okay, so if you couple up yours, so you're a high militant mommy and a high scholastic mommy. So if you couple those two, the scholastic mommy is about 28% of the world. The militant mommy is about 12% of the world. So you add those up, what is that? Like, is that 50?
Yeah.
Okay. So 50% of the world. So you're going to be in beef with 50% of the world.
Wow.
So half the people you come in contact with are not going to like the way that you come at them.
Wow.
There's always going to be people.
40. I'm sorry. It's 40. It's
40. So 40. So think about 40% of the world. Right. I'm like not thinking about the math.
It's okay. Yeah, I got you.
But so 40% of the world are going to be understanding of how you're coming. They're going to get it.
Right.
But the other 60% you're going to be in beef with, because they're going to be like, how's she coming at me like this? This is too. And you just want what's best for them.
Right. Yeah. Good intentions.
Good intentions, but it's the delivery.
Yes.
So the more introverted, people-oriented personalities, they need more emotion behind what you're telling them. So that mom may need, a phone call. Hey, I want to talk to you, asking questions. What's going on at home? Is there anything that I can assist you with at home? Is there things that are going on that I can, as a daycare provider, that I can extend, what's going on?
Yes.
Ask them more about their well-being, being more of a chit chat type of situation, icebreakers. We know that the child is a problem. They have a problem at the school, which is why you're calling. But what's going on with the mom, with the family?
Yeah.
What's going on in that environment?
Yes. And a lot of times, my husband says, you're the counselor, you're the mom to the mothers, you're the grandma to everybody, because the parents you form a bond with them because you see them every day.
Right.
You can look at someone's face, their body language, just to see, like, if things are good or if they're not.
Right.
And so we kind of are in tune with that. I try not to cross certain boundaries because then they can become conflict on a whole different level,
Right.
because I want to keep it professional. But at the same time, a lot of single moms use daycare and
Right.
they need, someone that they can talk to. So of course, as providers, we're there because we're women. We're just compassionate as women. That's how God made us.
Right.
Anyway. But when it comes to sometimes every client just doesn't fit your program. And
that's it.
Some of them just don't, no matter how much you try, our personalities just are not going to juice at all whatsoever.
Right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow for some providers. I've been doing it a long time, so I get it. I understand it. And it's like, okay, this didn't work out. Let's leave this. And just move on. Whereas you have some providers that will just keep a child there until the parent removes them. And so the situation just gets worse and worse because some parents are just like, they feel like, okay, you work for me, I'm paying you, you're going to take care of my child. I can treat you any kind of way. And that's just not okay. But some providers are just very soccer momish type.
That's it. They want the peace and harmony.
Yeah.
So they'll take it at any cost. And usually it's self-sacrificing. About the soccer mom, they're self-sacrificing. So they're that way in their motherhood. They're that way in their business. They're that way in their marriage. Because it's how you do anything is how you do everything. So they're getting run over by the parents. There's very loose boundaries. It's the same limitations. Loose boundaries, enabling. They have a hard time putting in those late fees or holding parents accountable for making payments on time.
Yes.
And that becomes an issue. If you're a bestie mom or a soccer mom, you have a hard time holding people accountable because you care more about the relationship than you do the business. And so when you know that that's your weakness, instead of trying to handle that, you need to be partnering up with someone that doesn't care about that.
Right.
Need a militant mommy or a scholastic mommy as a partner so that they can handle that business side. So all you're doing as a soccer mommy and a bestie mommy is loving on them. That's why it's so important. That's why marriage is so important because kids need that balance. Businesses, they need that balance.
Absolutely.
So that's what it boils down to. So it's like some daycare providers, they are showing up as a soccer mommy and they're getting ran over by the kids. They're getting ran over because they don't have the support that they need. They need a support that's going to be more of an executor, somebody that's going to be more of that, decisive person. Like they're not paying on time. They got to go.
Yeah.
A soccer mommy is very rarely going to execute that. They will just wait until the person leaves them.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
You broke it
about the nature of the business.
Yes. I do a lot of consultations and a lot of comments where they say, I wish I could just say the things you say or just, just be strong enough. And I'm like, it's in you, and the thing about it is that I believe that the soccer mom does have a different side to her though, that she can
but it's more on a passive aggressive level.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And so that rubs people the wrong way, which is why they have conflict with the scholastic mom and with the bestie mom and the militant mom. So people that are more passive aggressive, they're going to have more of an issue with direct people. People that are direct have a huge issue with people that are passive aggressive because we're hardwired to ask those questions and get those straight answers so we can move on. We're very fast paced. We want to just move on. Let's just get past it. Thinks more, long term, they're like, well, we have time to do this. So they're thinking about how is this going to affect my relationship with them? How are they going to look at me as a person? They don't want to be the bad guy. It's really hard for them. So how we're hardwired to be like, yes and no, they're hardwired to be like, well, maybe.
Yeah. Got it. Well, what advice would you give providers that have distance learners in their program? This is such a hard thing for us right now, for the simple fact that you have your regular daycare children and then you have the distance learners. And, if you have a child that doesn't want to do their work, or a child that is pretending that they're on the Zoom, or a child who's having difficulty but is afraid to ask, and then the parent comes to the provider like, well, they're with you all day. But my thing is, as a provider, I feel like the parents should still be checking in every evening just to make sure their child is doing what they're doing. But as far as the emotions like providers are having, this is like very stressful for us, because this is something that, no one expected.
Right. Well, I think that it all boils back down to, do you have self-awareness? What are the issues? So the distance learning is not an issue for everyone. The distance learning is the most difficult for children that are like the bestie mom, where they want fun, quick, have shorter attention spans. They're struggling. So those kids are going to have the most challenges. Everybody's not struggling with distance learning.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it still boils down to, do you know your style and do you know your kid's style? So as a provider, you need to know what your style is. You need to know if you're a militant mommy, a bestie mommy, a soccer mommy, or a scholastic mommy. And if you're not a mommy and you're a business owner, you just need to know where you fall in line in that area, because either way, you fall in one of those categories,
right?
Or at least two of those categories. But there's also something that's called an adaptive. So you have your natural style, which is who you are when you get to be your 100% self. And when, no one is watching or people are watching that you're very comfortable with, that's who you are, and you're natural. Then in your adaptive is how you show up when others are watching you or when you feel like you're being watched. In the pandemic, we're all showing up in our adaptive because we're in uncharted territories. So as much as we want to be authentic, a lot of us are just showing up as our inauthentic selves because we're just trying to make it through the day. Well, the more you're in that adaptive environment, the more stress you're using, the more energy you're using, and the more stressed you are and less effective. So if you're not a teacher that's done homeschool or any type of training, you're automatically going to be more stressed as a teacher because you've never done it before. So you're in your adaptive. So you're using more energy, but you're going to be less effective. If you're a daycare provider and you're adding this new service, it's probably not going to work out too well because that's not your role. That's not what your role has been. So now you're in your adaptive.
Yeah.
So there's going to be conflict. So that's the main thing, is that the distance learning, there is a remedy for it. And it's just knowing who you are, knowing if you're an extrovert or an introvert or an ambivert, if you are task oriented or people oriented. And then whatever you are, you need to get help with some of those areas where you're not.
Okay.
You just can't be all things to everyone. So you need to find what you're good at in the distance learning. So for you being a scholastic mommy, you are more on top of, following the rules. What are the rules? Yeah. They're going to be sitting at that desk. They're going to have the camera turned on, and they're going to have a headset on.
Yes.
And they're going to be doing the work that you see them doing.
Yes. Yeah.
It's your job to follow behind them, making sure it's getting done. Well, what if you're a bestie mom provider? You just want to make it fun. So you might let them do their iPad on their breaks in between the classes. Well, if you don't have time to monitor that, they may stay on their iPad all day. So now they're not getting their work done. That's
right. Yeah. I've had providers share that. I have 2 distance learners, and their Anne is at home. She's here from another country, so she's at home all day. So the mother says, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. They really could stay at home, but they don't do their work at home with her. So I bring them to daycare because they're going to do it with you.
Right.
I was just like, wow, really?
Because you're going to get it done. You're going to make sure it gets done because that's your standard. You have high standards and you want to move quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone doesn't have that teaching style. Most teachers fall in that style. That's why they love planning. They love the structure. They can do the same time and day every day. It's not built to do that, but you're built to do that. So that's why you've been doing this for 30 years and able to do trainings on it, because this is really your niche.
Yes.
So, and not that other styles can't do it. They absolutely can, but they need more support in different areas. You may need more support. You need more soccer mommy support.
Right.
Nurture those, nurture those relationships.
Yes.
To be that little buffer in between you to get this done. And okay, what is it that you need to get this done? So people are falling behind because they're trying to be everyone to everybody. When you have high self-awareness, you know what you can do and what you can't do. Like I only got 14% soccer mommy in me. So that means that I am not there to nurture relationships. I have to make an effort to be more patient and to slow down because I'm naturally just quick. I'm just naturally very active.
Yeah.
So to connect with my kids that are slow, that are more introverted, that like a slower pace and are more laid back and more chill, I have to carve out time for chilling.
Got it. Yeah.
Want to give them what they need. But I didn't know that always. I just wanted them to get good grades, level up, do what you got to do. This is how it's done. And it wasn't until I had my first son and he got to high school that I realized, okay, he's that bestie type of personality. So the militant high expectations, high standards can make him feel like he's not ever doing enough. Cultivate in a child that they're not enough, if they're not getting good grades, if they're not in a profession, if they don't know what they want to do. And you don't realize that as a parent because you're just thinking you're just doing what you're supposed to do as a mom. I'm trying to bring out the best in you. But my limitation is it can create conflict, like a very tense environment. We're trying to get things right. They're trying to get results.
Yes.
But they're not getting their needs met. And so the more I know that about myself, the more I can slow down, the more I ask questions.
Okay.
Or that I'm intentionally trying to build my relationships because I'm the only one in my house that is a militant. Everybody else are either soccer or bestie.
Really?
Yeah. My two kids, my youngest son and my oldest daughter, they're both soccer. They're that personality, they're very introverted. And my daughter has more scholastic in her. Very, play by the rules, both of them high scholastic, high soccer. So they're play by the rules, very introverted. They have their small circle of friends that they're down for the count. They're doing great in distance learning because they follow rules. They work grades. They hold themselves accountable. Well, I have a little bestie. That's my oldest. And then he's out of the house. But I have my bestie she's the youngest. And she needs that. She needs to have her iPad. So on her break, she can be doing a little TikTok on the side. Okay. She needs that.
I got you.
Is that my standard? No. I'm like, girl, end of the day. But for me, understanding that she needs that interaction, she needs those breaks, she's going to be more productive.
Okay. And you recognize that?
I recognize that because I recognize myself.
Yes.
I know me holding her to the fire. Like, for example, when she was in 4th grade, she had a teacher that was very scholastic. Extremely scholastic. And I already knew that because my daughter had her the year before. And excellent. She did excellent in her class. She had high standards and she moved at a slower pace, but she had very high standards. And so my daughter, she adapts to that because she also has high standards and she wants to get straight A's. So they were a perfect match. I knew before she got to that level, I said that type of personality for a teacher will not work with my daughter. Not with my bestie daughter. It's not because the standards are too high and she needs to have some fun. And this teacher does not prioritize it.
Right.
So when she got to her class, they really bumped heads in the beginning. And I told her, she's like, well, I think that she needs to come out of chorus and dance because she is not a chorus and violin. Because not, her math grade is dropping. I see that her math is dropping and, you know, she's not as attentive. And so I think she needs to come out of those two.
The extracurricular
the
stuff?
extracurricular.
Okay.
And so I said, no, you need to incorporate more fun in your classroom. I'm not going to take her out because if I take her out, she's not going to do anything.
Right.
Because she doesn't have any outlet. So you need to incorporate more small talk, more circle time. It needs to be less rigid in the classroom if you want to get to the bestie kids. There needs to be some type of fun for them to
I've learned that about the daycare children. I have.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's because you're more in tune with yourself too. And you've been working with kids for a long time. So they need. And so as a parent, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Identify, and it's easier to work with parents when they know who they are because then they know where they're lacking. It's easier to work with the kids with the kids teachers because I already know my kids. So I'm like, okay, this class is a little too loose. It's not enough rules. So my scholastic daughter, she is like, this teacher does not know what they're doing. We don't even have a syllabus. We don't have, you know, and so in those
she needs that. She needs that.
Okay, I get with the teacher and I say, hey, my daughter, she needs more structure. What are the assignments? Can you give it to her ahead of time? And then she does better because she knows what to expect.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important for us to know ourselves as providers, as parents, as wives. It's important because then we know what we need. We know how to recharge. We know, you know, what kind of support we need because it's 4 different personalities. So that's 4 different types of supports.
Got it. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that when a child does not want to do the same thing every day when you're dealing with daycare. So I use different methods every day. And providers say, well, what curriculum do you use? I use my own. I use what comes to me every day for the children, for the simple fact that they don't want to do the same thing every day. Everything does not have to be so structured. And so I've incorporated the little tablets, not the like the little leapfrog computers and things like that, not like iPad and things like that.
Right.
And I noticed that if we were doing dry erase one day, then the next day we're going to use our little computers for the simple fact they don't want to do that every day. And so my goal is, and I had to reassess my program with their personalities because today's children are not like yesterday's children, not like when we grew up, you know, not like when my children grew up. These children are so smart, so intelligent. They're so tech savvy at 1. It's just easy, you know, so having to reevaluate and just change my room around, change some things around. I'm having more fun. They're having more fun, but they're still learning.
Right.
So that's what it's all about. They're going to get enough of that when they got to sit at a desk and write and wearing uniforms and all that when they get there.
Especially for daycare, because really it's the nature of them just learning how to be disciplined.
Yeah.
They're learning how to communicate and how to build friendships.
Yeah.
It's much more about, you know, relational.
Yes.
Care. It's learning how to get along with people, learning how to sit in circle time, you know, learning the expectations, because in real life, we have to learn how to adapt. The most successful people learn how to adapt. It's just that you have to have a time slot. It's like, okay, I know that I have to adapt for 4 hours a day at my job. Because and you can work around that because then that's 20 more hours that you have that you can be yourself. So you're able to some type of way. So the kids, they have to learn how to adapt. They know that when they go to school, even if they're an introvert, they have to be able to interact with other people. And they have to learn that. So sometimes they have to learn how to take their private time, go play with a toy in the corner by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just wonderful. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on and do this because this is just, it's helped me so much. And I want to be able for other providers to have access to you so that they will understand, because I hear it. So I know that they need to be calling you too.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm not the expert on this. Look, you need my Mommie Mogul right here.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I love to do it. I love to help people. I'm all about, you know, I'm so solution focused. You know, like, no matter what, it's like we have to learn how to get along, and you have to know when enough is enough. And sometimes you're always, once you learn more about yourself, you're going to learn that there are people that don't want to heal. There are people that do not have conflict. There are people that are not going to change.
Yes.
They have no type of intention on changing at all. And so once you realize that those are those people, then it's not as hard to cut them off or let them go, especially as daycare providers. You're going to have toxic parents.
Yes.
Have toxic parents that are going to have toxic kids that are going to ruin your business. You're going to have toxic assistants that are going to ruin your business. And so you have to be able to weed out toxicity so that your business can grow.
Yeah. One of the complaints that I've had from previous assistants was that I just required too much. I wanted it done. I was just too structured. And when you think about those that do want to come and work with children, they think, oh, it's just fun all day long. We're just going to play. And that's just a tiny part of it.
Right.
There's so much more that goes into making sure that the program is safe. Safety is the number one concern. And if the bestie, the soccer mom, they may not even, get it, like, girl, they all right. Just, we can clean the bathroom later. No, we need to clean the bathroom now. They just went,
right.
Or after they eat a meal, well, we need to wipe the tables off. Well, we can do it later. No, we're going to, and I'm like, no, we're going to do it now. I'm not that come back and let's do this later, because then things just pile up and pile up and pile up. So some assistants, they just don't get it, or they just, now I see they're that bestie or that soccer mom type of personality, which is a good personality to have within the daycare children.
Right.
So now
but more in the activities section, maybe they do the reading the books, they do the exercises and the activities, and more of the fun, side, the more creative, maybe have them a part of the planning of the day.
Mm-hmm.
What creative ideas they may have to bring to the table, because the bestie and the soccer, their whole focus is relational. So they know how to connect with people. So they're going to be the ones that can really help you connect with the children and the moms. So they could be the ones that answer the door in the morning, and do the packing up in the afternoon.
Yes.
So those things where you don't feel so stressed because cleaning up after, it's like, okay, you'll have more time to clean up and adjust and monitor.
Right.
There, if you're not the one actually teaching, because their gift is usually teaching. They're better at teaching and doing fun activities and those type of things. And you're better at the overview.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's like, it's not that they're not valuable. It's very valuable, but it's doing what they're good at.
Absolutely.
Needed for the daycare, but do they fit what's needed? Do you need more teachers? Well, the S teachers are awesome. The soccer mom teachers and the bestie moms, they're awesome, but they also need more structure.
Yes.
And that's where you come along. So if they have like memos for the day and they know what they need to be doing, soccer moms need step-by-step. Already know what needs to be done, but are you clear if they know what needs to be done? Because with soccer people, they are agreeable. So even if they don't really understand, but you don't seem approachable to ask questions.
Oh my goodness.
They're not going to ask you questions.
Stop talking about me.
They need that step by step. So they need to pull back more and allow them to do more of the interaction with the kids and teaching them more, because that's your gift.
Yes. Well, I could talk to you all day long. You already know that. Thank you so much for your time on this early Saturday morning.
No problem.
I can't wait for everyone to get this and to hear it, because this is just it's so powerful. It's very, very empowering, and definitely letting other providers know the awareness about who they are, the self-awareness.
Their strengths. And think about it. We've been beaten up our whole lives about who we are.
Yes.
Not accepted by people our whole lives. As women, we have had these expectations to hold up to society. And so a lot of people are ashamed of who they are without even knowing it. So they're trying to show up as who they think is successful. Natural to who they are.
That's a whole nother podcast right there.
Showing up as yourself, learning your strengths is confidence.
Yes.
No matter what your style is, we all are super moms. We're all
right.
Stars in our own right. And you just have to learn what your superpower is so that you can execute on that level and get the right support.
Thank you again so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
And look, until we meet again.
Until we meet again.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Oh my goodness. That was just some good stuff, y'all. That was just some good stuff right there. You have the militant personality. You have the bestie. You have the soccer mom. You have the scholastic personality. Like, this is just really good information for us as providers because it helps us to have a little more insight into our relationship with our clients. Follow her, Modern Mommie Mogul. She has a podcast. It's on all your podcast outlets. I listen to her on Apple Podcasts. It's there. She's amazing. LaShana Stephens is her name. I also want to remind you all that Miss Tanya has a book that's on Amazon. And I would love for you all to definitely purchase my book because it's 101 tips. It's funny. It's informative. It's real life true stories that actually happen in family daycare. So it's $10. It's on Amazon. I would love for you all to purchase the book, give it as a gift because it's really, really just a good read. And for those of you that are thinking about going into daycare, those that are in daycare, you're going to hear and read some stories in there that you have gone through or that you will go through. So my book is on Amazon. It's Daycare Chronicles 101, 101 tips about things that really happen in daycare. I always do a healthy snack tip. And so my healthy snack tip today is the salmon quesadilla. Oh, doesn't that sound yummy? You get your tortilla. I use whole wheat, your whole wheat tortilla. I buy fresh salmon. I broil it in the oven. I actually just put my little seasoning on there. I use Mrs. Dash, Lawry's, or you can, use fish seasoning or whatnot. I put it in a Gladdy bag, like a gallon-sized bag. And I pour Italian dressing over it. I let it sit for a few minutes in the refrigerator. I take it, I broil it in the oven. After it's done, I let it cool off a little bit. And I will chop it up, do my shell for my quesadilla, have it there in the skillet. I'll put some cheese. I'll put the salmon in there. Sometimes I'll put a little red bell pepper, green bell pepper in there as well, just to give it a little more flavor. I'll chop those up small because the children, sometimes they don't want to eat it if they see the veggies in there. And then I'll just make the quesadilla. And then, of course, I'll always do a fresh fruit salad with the fruits that are in season. And then we'll have some water to go along with that. Such a healthy snack tip. This could even be for lunch or for dinner, a salmon quesadilla. How good does that sound? And the children love it. For those that aren't able to, hold it out, chop it up into smaller bite-sized pieces for them. And the children just really, really love it. We have to feed our children better. We have to. They get enough fast food. They get enough junk. When they're at daycare, sometimes these are some of the healthiest meals that the children get. So as providers, we have to do better with the way that we feed the children. And I know that most of us really, really try to do the best that we can. I just want to throw some other little healthy, ideas out there that you may not have thought of. Or if you have any, you can always go to my website, www.daycarechronicles101.com. And you can leave me a message or anything. I take all ideas in. We can talk about them, or you can hit me up on Instagram or on my Facebook page or the Facebook group page. For those of you that haven't joined the Facebook group page, please do. It's a platform where all of the providers can join in and we can just have different discussions. You can ask questions. You can post things. My group is just not your typical group. My group is to hear what everyone has to say and to see if we can help one another. Absolutely. So I am so excited about, the guest that I just had I have so many things going through my head right now because she's just so valuable. And I went back to her because I want you all to really follow her, Modern Mommie Mogul. And her name is LaShana Stephens again. Just the different personality barriers within daycare and with our clients. And now we understand why there may be conflict, why there may be difficulty, why there may be, disagreements there. Let's talk about this distance learning though. This distance learning is something else, I will say. I only have 2 distance learners and they're doing really well. My grandson does distance learning, but he's at home with my daughter because she's working from home and he's doing excellent. There are some providers that are just so overwhelmed with the distance learning, and I feel for you. I really, really do. As Miss LaShana said, you may need to reach out to someone just for support, just to see what other providers are doing, to see how maybe you can change the setup up or, just reevaluate how you're doing things in your facility to accommodate the distance learning. It doesn't have to be a big area, but it needs to be a quiet area. And that's something that I've learned. It has to be a quiet area for them. Their headphones, them wearing headphones is a good thing so that the teachers and the classmates don't hear all the backdrop noise that's going on, in the daycare or whatnot. I hope that you all have enjoyed this. I am just so overstimulated with all this information. And I hope that you all receive it. And until we meet again, remember, if you don't want to be a chronicle, don't do it.